I can see that I think about it all the time. I'm really, like it's really taking all my energy and...
Yeah, the Holy Spirit answers the prayer of the heart. So, I mean, one of the best ways to break out of that or to transcend that is, again, of course, simply to tune in. That's what, you know, when you came over to the 3-week devotional in Canada, that was to tune into the Spirit in much more of a fine-tuning way. And then when you said, I don't even know how I'm going to come down, and you were able to get a visa, temporary visa, cross over, come down to Cincinnati, again, the desire was to tune in. And then the pride reared up, and the resistance, and the tears came shooting up like a volcano. And then what better way to have it undone than to just let yourself be used in an arranged marriage. Not like they do with the Hindus, you know, when you're 13, 14, 15 and families, you know, get the dowry together and have the meeting and decide, okay, it's like a merging of two corporations, two families, we're going to have these two young people unite. No, this is, you let the Holy Spirit arrange a marriage. And then, so all those things that just seem to be our Mel's concerns, now you've got, oh, now there's a husband tacked on there too. So you see how that just speeds up the undoing. Yeah. Will you still love me, you know, if my form changes, you know?
Yeah, and yesterday Eric shared his private thought and he shared that he thinks I'm fat, so I was like, ah! I was hating him, I didn't speak to him until today morning.
Yes, this is holy relationship. Any thought can come up. That's great. You get the tattooed wedding rings, and you really get into the whole symbol, and then here come the private thoughts. You know, you're fat, and what a perfect way to undo them. You know, because you can either stay there in the intensity of that feeling, of that thought, or you can let it go and feel how blissful that feels. Kind of like that movie The Elephant Man, you know, where he seems to have this deformity and he's kind of viewed as an animal, not really as a human being, and then he finally has to go down into the pain of that, and finally the words come up, I am not an animal, you know. Which, in one sense, that's what we're all going through. I am not a body. I am not this body. And we have to let that, like, grow up in fertile soil and willingness and readiness and rise up into an experience that's true. So, this whole construct of seemingly having an arranged marriage, you know, took a lot of courage and faith and trust to step through with the guidance. But it will be greatly rewarded, because you're following the Spirit, which is the guide for the dismantling. It's the only way that the dismantling can occur, and certainly in a fast, rapid way. That's the time saver. That's what saves time. So, you know, I've had some one-on-ones, and those are the very kind of things we talk about, is just let those thoughts arise. In the old way of relationship, those are the kind of thoughts that, like Eric might have in the past with his girlfriend, had the thought come up and just pushed it down, like, oh, no, we won't be sharing that thought. And then it may come up again, no, we won't be sharing that thought. If there would be peace in this relationship, we won't be sharing that thought. And now it's like, okay, I'm going all the way with this, I'm going for holy relationship, we're using the symbol of marriage, and what better thing to do than, instead of hiding the private thought, than exposing it with my partner, who I'm, you know, that's the whole point, to expose that. And then when the thought comes up and then the ego reacts to it and everything, then that gives the impetus to let it go. You know, will you still love me if my body looks this way or that way? You know, I'm sure that's a very common thing in almost all relationships, and yet when you start to give it over to holy relationship and give it over to the Holy Spirit, those kind of thoughts, I mean, David Wellings and I, we were having a talk today about those thoughts and sexuality and all kinds of things, and I said, yeah, all body thoughts, they do the more you get into your holy function and your purpose, body thoughts become more peripheral in awareness. They simply lose their importance. You know, the fat, the skinny, the attractive, the sexy, the ugly, you know, it doesn't really matter what angle they come. The more you get into the flow of spirit and the more identified you become with spirit, of course the more peripheral those thoughts. They may seem to be just still there, but they seem weaker or softer or further out than they did before. And that's a good sign. That's just a sign that the mind training is working.
Mm-hmm.